yourself. So, for example, it talks about how a crayon, there's a blue crayon and it's got a red wrapper around it. And it colours in and it colours in blue. And people keep saying to him, you should be colouring blue. So it talks, the sort of things that children came up with is, it's a bit like when I feel like I should play football because all of the other children like football and football's cool. So I feel like I should be a person who plays football and I pretend to like football because everybody else does. Have you read the reviews on everything on Amazon, on all the different reviews, and also on the publisher's website as well? I can't say that I've read all of it. It does quite clearly say that it's a resource to teach about identity, including. She felt deeply uncomfortable in that lesson. She wrote the name of the book on her hand because she was like, this feels like basically fake, and like you should actually just be comfortable in yourself wherever you are. And it's not. I don't think it is a red crayon with a blue wrapper. I think it is a full-on. Like it's not about actually being mislabeled. I think you could take any book and you could teach transgender, you teach gender identity through it. That isn't how the book was used in our lesson. That wasn't how it was taught. I've looked through the planning, I've spoken to the teaching team, that wasn't how it was taught. It's like saying, I could go into a room and look really happy, but what's going on inside is I'm feeling sad. And it certainly wasn't a lesson where teachers were standing there saying, this could be a male crayon, but it's actually identified as a girl. That's not the context of the lesson. And there may be some bodies who use that with an agenda or who use that in a certain way to promote their way of thinking or to back up. That's not how it was used, and that's not what the planning says. Not the planning. There's no reference to identity or gender. So it was a PSHE lesson about being comfortable being yourself. So it was about the same as we said, don't judge a book by cover. Okay, just because somebody's a boy doesn't mean they like football. Just because someone's a girl. So it is about girls and boys. It's not about girls and boys, but you can think it is.
I think it's about difference as well, and recognising that everybody is different in all sorts of different ways. Hair colour different, eye colour different. And as a school, we are passionate in making children aware that everybody is different. And that's in all sorts.
I'm just going to revisit, because when you first said about the book, you said that some people, and then actually when you just reiterated, you probably leaked inadvertently that it was boys' expectations and girls' expectations, and that book and very frightening displays of human outside that book is about transgenderism. It's not woolly. It's about transgenderism and gender identity, and it's about labelling. It's about assigned female at birth, and it's about the crayon being the real person. And so I think there's a list. It feels disingenuous as an outsider sitting here listening to you speak. It feels dishonest, actually, quite frankly.
That might be your interpretation. The intention.
How did the book get into the school?
Part of the No Outsiders curriculum.
No Outsiders, which is queer theory. You do know that, don't you? The guy. No, it's not. It's about the man who invented the whole No Outsiders program and took it into a school, predominantly Muslim school. He wants to queer the classroom. He wants the teachers and the children to have a sexual identity. Now, if you don't know that, I suggest that's something that you look at because, sorry, I haven't finished. If you don't know that, you really need to read up. It's a really, really dangerous syllabus, the No Outsiders syllabus. And I'm sure you must have heard criticisms.
We have done a lot of training on No Outsiders. So we've done training on No Outsiders, and we have researched and looked at it, and that's certainly not how it is presented, and that's not. It's absolutely not about.
Why the rainbows? Why the rainbows? Why have you got a massive rainbow as you just get into the school?
It's about
celebrating what? Difference.
Any difference.
What a rainbow is about celebrating difference.
Rainbow can be used in many contexts, and you can interpret things in many ways.
What do you think the No Outsiders rainbow is about? Come on, ladies.
Yeah, the thing is, this conversation isn't about No outsiders, does conversation.
It is, because this is what you're informed by. This is why that book is in your classroom. This is why it is about gender identity.
And we are in there outside the school, and we went out to consultation of 2020.
Come on, ladies.
People coming into our school.
Do you know? Would you tell a child that a woman had a penis in this school? If her daughter asked you, "Hey, miss, do women have penises?" How would you respond? Okay, can a boy be a girl? Can I change into a boy? How would you answer it?
We would be discussing with our teachers very openly about the kind of responses, and we would be very mindful of not causing any offence.
Okay.
I'm sure that you were responding.
Okay, so I'm a little girl in the classroom, right?
Equality Act 2010.
Which would inform you what? You think a 10-year-old is protected as a boy if they're a girl?
The protected characteristics.
Gender reassignment. Gender reassignment doesn't mean a little girl in the school, age 10, being a boy. Gender reassignment means that you have a pathway to transitioning, whatever that may be.
Within school, the consultation will be going, the consultation will look at this, but that isn't something we touch with the consultation. We don't touch.
So you don't answer questions in that classroom. So if somebody says, "Oh, I like the crayon because I like football and I'm a girl, maybe I could be a boy," you're saying that wouldn't come up? I'm really fearful that either you haven't got the cognitive skills to examine the syllabus that you're teaching, or you're both being really dishonest. That's my feeling. Walking into that school and seeing a massive, great big rainbow, and then you saying different. That is the No Outsiders program, predominantly because it's a gay man who is into queer theory, big fan of Foucault, which is a paedophile apologism within those theories, which I'm sure you're familiar with. That's why he wrote that.
Our school do not use it in that way. Our school use it to celebrate difference and to get children thinking about all sorts of differences. It's not to promote one particular ideology.
So if there's a girl in the classroom who calls herself a boy, and for some obscure reason you would go along with that, are other children expected to use he, him pronouns?
I've asked that since my first email. I've asked that, it doesn't want to, but she wants to correctly sex somebody. Will she get
asking her not to?
Really? Because that's classed as discrimination under the 2010 Equality Act.
You would tell a child to lie about somebody's pronouns. You can roll your eyes at me and it's very rude. I'm going to ask you again, child. It is a lie.
It is a lie, and the thing is, I brought up both my girls to be very aware about when you see something, you say what it is because of safeguarding, because of sexual abuse in my family. So actually, it's really important that they can label the parts of their body correctly. They can say when they see a male that it's a male, and they will not get punished for that, or be coerced or compelled with their speech to use incorrect language. So I'm really concerned about that, and it explains why I've not had that answered in any of my emails. What would happen if you sexist somebody and it's not, going along with their belief, and it is a protected belief? It's in that Paul Slater case, the first one I put in the very first email I sent. Actually, it is a belief worthy of respect in a democratic society, and that's been found in court of law. So therefore, belief that that's a man or that's a woman is worthy of respect, and therefore should not come under any kind of punitive consequences. That's my big concern. Is actually you've got this big conflicting agenda. You talk about the Equality Act 2010. Sex is a protected characteristic, and so is that belief. That belief I just said about believing that men can't change sex and women can't change sex. It's a protected belief. So you've got this conflict brewing in the school. And I'm very concerned that you guys aren't ahead of it.
Let's ask if you have any other teachers.
Yes.
And that's what I sent, and that's what I sent back in my letter of complaint.
Can I just ask how you would deal with that then? If the girl says that's a boy, how would you deal with it?
We can't be doing aside and just explain why it might be hurtful.
But my children are allowed to be hurtful. They shouldn't have to adjust their reality because of somebody else's feelings, because of their own beliefs, why should they have to then change their beliefs? Because you'd never be disrespectful. My girls are very tolerant, very respectful. You know my girls. They would never ever, be rude or bullying or taunting. But if they correctly refer to somebody according to their biological sex, are you telling me that she'd be reprimanded for that? That it would be the same as if someone was overweight. You could correctly say to them that they're fat and that they might be overweight. But I don't refer back. I don't say, oh, that fatty over there, do I? I say her over there, or him over there. So why would I then use an adjective as a pronoun? I wouldn't do that. So Meredith would be correctly using sex-based pronouns, not as an adjective, but as, and it's really important for her boundaries and for understanding that actually her perception of reality is correct, and it is based in reality and science, and it is based in biology, and it's based in research, and it's based in intuition and evolution. And actually, I need to know that you guys have got my back with that.
So this is a specific point that we can then discuss further within senior leadership.
Yeah, I really
don't think we're going to get the answer to that in this meeting.
I'm just quite afraid that you would be telling children that actually was a boy. Would you?
I think that's not the conversation.
It absolutely is. But you've got safeguarding lead around you, so I'm asking you, as a safeguarding lead point of view, not gaslighting children. I'm asking your colleague a direct question. Would you tell that child?
Particularly to me, Rob, because it feels like you're trying to isolate me.
Not isolating. You're two grown-ups in a room. I think this lady may just be a little more diplomatic with it, but you've asserted that you would actually tell a child and you would explain that it wasn't very kind. I'm just asking, would you say that a little girl who called herself a boy to the other pupils, would you say that is a boy?
It depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
If we've got a child with male and female body who identifies as a different, if they are asking us to be referred to as he or she, then that is the guidance. And this isn't our personal viewpoint. This is the guidance we get as teaching staff. This is the DFE, the Quality Act, it's the law.
Do you not go home at night and just think that you are being forced to lie to children? Does that not concern you both?
No, because I think we have different viewpoints, and we need to accept that in this room there are different viewpoints, and it's about how we move forward with that.
But once you endorse a child, say 7, 8 years old, as trans, they are then on a pathway that's very difficult to get off, because that would be called a social transition. And what you do as safeguarding leads, so called, is you would encourage it, endorse it, you would then reinforce it, and then what you're looking at? You're looking at breast binders, double mastectomies, maybe you're looking at phalloplasty, you're looking at infertility, and a lack of sexual function. So I'm just...
that is research based. You can look at
well, I'm sure both of these ladies know. I'm just curious
as to just make it really clear, we are safeguarding. That is a role in school, it's a role we take exceptionally seriously.
Right. So endorsing...
I need to not be offended by that.
Okay, well you can be offended, I don't mind.
This is my role, and
Okay. I'm saying that once you cross over the Rubicon into saying that there is such a thing as a trans child, and not only saying that and endorsing that in that child's life, but gaslighting all of the children around that child to also lie, to also claim that it's impolite to actually say that's a boy, in cases where actually being able to identify somebody's sex is very important. I am saying that safeguarding is no longer your primary concern. Your primary concern in that situation is ideology and your big rainbows all over the school. And I am really quite shocked that schools have got this bad so quickly.
I think we just need to come back to the fact that this isn't a decision that we have made. We are following the statutory guidance. We are doing the national training. This is not us trying to push any agenda or ideology.
It feels like you are, because you just said that you would correct me.
Because that is the advice we have been given.
By the outsiders?
No.
By who?
No, by the statutory guidance, by the Equality Act.
They tell you to
The
force children
national training that we
compelled speech. And you've not challenged it. You would compel her speech.
You can't compel my daughter's speech. I won't let you. So, I mean, what we're going to do then, you can't. So, I know from the emails we've got that there is somebody who doesn't believe that in the school. Encounter them and correctly sex them. I don't want her getting in trouble. But I mean, it's really important that as women we're allowed to say that's a man, that's a woman. It's built into us evolutionary wise. When we're babies, we're born, we can see the difference between a female walking towards us and a male. It's like something we're born with, and we shouldn't ignore our instincts on that. I was just going to ask earlier about, so say if you had somebody within your school with an eating disorder, would you then encourage the children to then say, yes, you could do with losing a bit of weight? Like, would you then still keep going with that and still say, actually, we can see that you're massively underweight, or we can see the truth, we can see the reality, because this is about yourself. Why would you do that? Like,
I really don't understand.
It's a comparison, it's an analogy, it's a metaphor. So I'm just trying to get you to see my side of it and how my worries about getting the children to deny what their eyes and ears are telling them. It sounds like a very small thing, but when you think about the knock-on effect of that, if in the future then she thinks, well, I don't know best, I'll wait to be told, like, maybe my tummy's wrong, maybe I've got a funny feeling because of that man over there, but maybe it's just all in my head. I need my girls to grow up trusting their instinct and trusting their guts. And if that's not something you can support them with, I'm really concerned. Really, especially with her ADHD. I mean, she's massively into football and dinosaurs and stuff like that. And she said to me that she's already said people in year 3 are saying, "Oh, why do you like boy things?"
And that's exactly what this lesson is about, and what we promote is that actually girls can be in a football team.
Yeah.
That actually,
but gender identity isn't protected. That's a belief system. Gender identity isn't. Gender reassignment is. Sex is, and so is the belief that sex is immutable and physical and is what it is. And that's so there's this big clash. I know you guys are waiting for more advice from the Department of Education. I'm really pleased you decided to pause and stall this, but I still have big concerns about, like you say, the consequences should my children correctly sex somebody.
so what I
And
think
still, why does that get into that classroom?
moving forwards on this, I think it's probably really helpful if we could write down your specific concerns.
Yeah.
So we'll write those down as a note from this meeting, because I don't think we're going to resolve anything on this meeting. This is a
No, I don't think we
so.
are. So,
Do you think you would have said that 5 years ago? Do you think you would have said to a child 5 years ago?
It depends what the statutory guidance is doing, because that's what we're driven by. That's what we have. We can't just make up.
Just follow orders, I guess.
We have to teach what we're given by a national curriculum. We have to follow the statutory guidance because it's the law. We have to follow the Equality Act. So, in terms of actually, if that's what it said 5 years ago, then absolutely.
Does it concern you? Are you concerned that you have to tell children to pretend they see a boy or a girl when they're dressed?
You're trying to get my own personal view.
I'm just asking if you're concerned from a safeguarding point of view. Does it concern you?
I think it's a false question. Can I just write
No. I'm saying that children really trust teachers. And if a teacher were to say to a little girl, she should use different language for somebody she perceives to be male, as they are, but she had to use female language for them. As a safeguarding lead, from a safeguarding point of view, that sort of dishonesty, compelled dishonesty with that child, does it concern you?
So one of your specific concerns for me to write down is that the safeguarding leads.
So I'll take that as a no. It doesn't
I've
concern you.
said I'm not answering that question. What I want to do is write down.
We're trying to find a productive way forward. What we don't want to do is
I need some answers. I need definitely answers around 2 things really. One, about the comparatively to my daughter and there being any sort of consequence.
So we can certainly take that back to the school.
Because I worry about that.
I am
Very upset.
I understand it. So compelled speech around.
And the other one was if, say, said, actually, I'm a boy to you guys, would you tell me? And what language you'd be using to refer to her in school? Hypothetical. This is my concern. Would you tell me? If it said, I want to be happy, can you tell me he, him?
We would absolutely be having conversations with our parents. You know, we work in close partnership with parents.
The thing is with this is it's really, really getting my trust going now. With Mr. Festival, with that book, after I sat down with him in parents' evening, I looked at him just like this. I've done it with every single teacher. I've done it with Mrs. we're a gender critical family. Please give me the heads up before you teach anything to do with gender identity or gender ideology, please. And he looked me in the eye and he said, there's nothing planned like that for year 5. That was his words. There's nothing planned like that.
That's because that wasn't the intent behind the lesson, and that wasn't what's taught in the lesson.
But
And
I
appreciate some people may have used that book in a different way to teach, but that's not how we used it in our
Until
school.
I complained, it was planned because it's the lesson 2, week 2 of the lesson. The first thing you said round, it said we're going to talk about gender identity and the language that we use to not cause offence, etc., etc. So it was planned. I knew that at the parents' evening because he's head of year 5. So it was planned. He lied to my face, and then whether or not he decided the red crown was a good idea or not, that still happened before it was supposed to be happening. So there's several issues about transparency, communication.
So
No, it wasn't.
red
I
crown wasn't
get
to
what
do
you're
with.
saying.
I understand what you're saying about this. I completely take your point on that, where you said he's school this year, and he may not have known the ins and outs of the RSHE curriculum, and
But you should have said, I'll go and check.
yeah,
Didn't
I
you?
get
Said
that.
you assured me that that's not going to be taught in year 5.
Then I completely take that point on board, and I can have a conversation with him, because actually I think there's a point there around improving communication to make sure we're getting that through right to him. I think that is absolutely a valid point that we can look at, and I can chat to him.
So I've got 2 points to take forward. I know you're feeling very uncomfortable and unhappy, but as 2 things to take out of this meeting, it would be those 2 points.
Just make sure that whatever your system you're using, whatever body of work curriculum you're using, just make sure you've thought about actually where does it come from, what is it sitting in front of, and what's the alternative. There's loads of resources I've sent you. Transgender Trend, Safe Schools Alliance.
But they're not, because we reviewed them together, and they're not teaching schools materials that we can use as a teaching resource. There might be guidance, but they're not teaching resources or a curriculum. There might be websites that have viewpoints or PDFs, but they aren't teaching resources, because we did take the time to sit down and review them. I don't want you to think that we aren't taking it seriously. We are, and we have spent hours and hours and hours sat down looking at things, taking a point, looking through resources. You said we really are taking this seriously, and I know it's incredibly challenging as a parent when your viewpoint isn't being reflected in the school curriculum.
I want a balance.
I get it.
I mean, I know that my friend probably wouldn't want to compromise, but if you just taught it as a balance, that some people believe this, but people who believe in science, and I'm a psychologist, you know, I get this stuff, I've studied this stuff, and actually this is what I believe after looking at the research, and something that I can probably begrudgingly deal with. But to teach it as it's fact, as if there's no question, as there's no debate, is really scary.
So just so I can get this down as well, a compromise.
I just hi. I'm so sorry. I quickly had to take my son, so I thought this would be very good to let you listen to how teachers respond. So I'm sorry if it was a bit weird that all of a sudden there I was there I was gone, and there I was gone. So let me just put myself up here. Now I'm back. It's good, isn't it? I took my son all the way to college, got stuck in traffic, and I came back. So to reiterate, this is what happened when I went into a school. These girls are 7 and 9. We've put it up. You can watch it again and take pieces from it. But these are 2 safeguarding leads, just to be clear. These are 2 safeguarding leads whose job it is in a school to look after the safeguarding of children. And I want you to bear in mind how you think these 2 people would behave if a teacher cross-dressing came into school, and how they would not safeguard children. They just wouldn't. We know they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They don't give a shit.
Point from your point of view would be to include and some people.
No, I wouldn't want to be the adult. I don't want it to be the adult. I want it to be that actually this is scientific fact, this is biology. And, you know, some people believe that, you know, gay people shouldn't get married. Some people believe that that's a sin or that's wrong and blah, blah, blah. And teach it like that, just teach it all the different weird beliefs. I don't understand why. Also, I don't actually understand why year 5s need to be knowing any of that anyway. My brother is gay, and he thinks this whole gender thing is massively homophobic. massively homophobic. You've got little gay lads, little lesbian girls, and you're saying to them, actually, you're straight. Congratulations. What it is that you're trapped in the wrong body.
That's not
Why
Yeah,
would
that
you be
is what it
teaching
is,
that?
though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're so in. Anyway, we're going to get on after the tangent. I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? I want it to be very, very clear in whatever teaching you're doing that it's gender reassignment is protected and sex is. There's so many times in your policy that you use the word gender when.
I just want to make it really clear as well, from my point of view, that the Equality Act is woeful and doesn't protect women and girls at all. It doesn't protect children from this shit. I don't think that gender reassignment, I think any legislation that includes something for gender reassignment means that legislation is null and void. And so and let women speak, unlike all, I think, maybe not safe schools, but I am very, very clear that no person pretending to be the opposite sex or pretending not to have a sex is fit to work in schools with children. Now, I know Sex Matters have said that they want to find accommodations for these men. I don't. But Sex Matters is an organization that is adherent to the Equality Act. So they have to say that. I mean, that's why I could never be a charity. There's another women's organization that's trying to be a charity because I think it's a fucking racket, actually. And I have no idea why a women's organization would want to become a charity. But what I do know is once you are a charity, then you have to adhere to the Equality Act. And that means that you have to pretend that you believe that there should be a protected characteristic such as gender reassignment, which would include fetishy pervert men in schools teaching your children. Fetishy pervert men being hired by all sorts of children's charities and schools, scouts, coaches. I'm not saying that men who don't dress up as women aren't perverts as well. There are plenty of them, but they don't carry a sign that says, "Look at me, I'm a pervert." But these men do. These men do carry a sign that say, "Hey, look at me, I'm a big red flag, I'm a safeguarding risk." So I think when a man does that, you should fucking listen to what he's saying. You should listen to what he's saying. But these teachers are safeguarding leads. These teachers are gaslighting this mother and telling her that they aren't doing the things they're doing, that they aren't spewing with this bile about biological sex and transgenderism. And they are doing that. They totally are doing that.
When you mean sex. It also says in your anti-bullying policy, I think, that you're going to teach all the kids to be respectful to others, no matter what their gender. I just want you to take gender out and put sex in. Sex is the actual protected characteristic in the Equality Act, not gender. Gender's not in. Gender reassignment is.
I mean, I do think this is where I part company with a lot of the women that are trying to stay on the polite side of everything, including, like, politicians will always be weak on this because they're never going to say the things that you and I can say because they want to get re-elected. Like, no politician is saying the things that I think need to be said. No person in the House of Lords. No, they're not. That's what happens. There's not even a single member of someone like Reform that's supposed to be the most hardline or Kemi, but none of them. There is not a single politician that says that they don't think these men should wear their fetish gear in the NHS, despite what's happening with the Darlington nurses. None of them. I mean, have any other women's organization purported to be women's or sex-based organization, have they come out and said that these men shouldn't be fucking working in the NHS? No, they haven't. That's why it's very, very useful to stay isolated and out of the circle completely. I couldn't possibly go and stand on somebody's platform who've invited people who think it's all right for fetishy perverts to teach in schools without saying something about that. There isn't a single politician that, even when they've spoken about the Darlington nurses, have raised concerns about patients that those men are actually treating. There's no one is doing that. I don't know why you women are affording these people some sort of hero status. I should be. I should have that status. I don't think anybody should. Be your own fucking hero. But it's really irksome when time and time again we are expected to fall in line with this polite, meek way of dealing with these fucking issues. We have to just deal with them very much head on, through the middle.
So I just give me a second to write this down. So it is the specific wording. Gender assignment.
Fucking hell. She writes so slowly. The other thing was, after this mother and I had been in this meeting, those two teachers were too shaken. And this is the whole recorded conversation. They were too upset and shaken to go to a meeting that night, which they were supposed to do after this. Too shaken. Do you know what that is, ladies? Guilt.
Yeah, gender identity. So is it also the same then?
I just need to write it down. I'm really
Okay.
sorry. I have.
We need to go back and work on this. And if we don't capture it, we can't.
Me, I have acquired brain injury. I have to write this down, otherwise
Okay.
it won't make sense to me in a minute. So gender reassignment is in the Equality Act.
For me, this is not relevant whether gender reassignment is in the Equality Act. It's not. I don't think the Equality Act is relevant in primary schools at all.
But transgender is not. Okay, that's that wording.
Or gender identity. Sex is.
I've written that down. I can come back to that now. Thank you for just giving me a minute.
That's fine. It's fine. So is gender ideology the only ideology that you impose on children, or are there other ideologies?
I think it's a very loaded question.
It is an ideology. We acknowledge
Yeah.
that.
We don't teach ideologies. What we do is we go back to the frameworks and we have to teach everything that's in that framework. It's a statutory framework. And what we're trying to do with this meeting, which I think you are really allowing us to do, is look through and look at what we can do to take things forward so we can go back, we can reflect on your viewpoint. We do value your viewpoint and we do value your feedback. And we appreciate
It's like management speak, isn't it?
how you're working with us constructively to try and make things better for you. But obviously, we're very tied by the legal frameworks we work under. We are not.
There is no legal framework that says that you have to teach that to primary schools, by the way. There is not. They had the no outsiders in this school.
The Department of Education does say that it takes no responsibility for the curriculums that you guys choose for RFHE and things like that. It does say that it's the school's it's your responsibility.
It
They don't
is.
actually endorse and say
There is a statutory guidance that we have. There's statutory guidance that we have to follow, and that's so everything we do, we go back to the national curriculum, we go back to statutory guidance for relations to sex and health education, and obviously then we've got the statutory science curriculum as well. So everything, that's where it comes from. So no, we don't have to follow a specific scheme, but it has to meet the statutory guidance, and that's where we get it from.
I don't think it says in the statutory guidance that you have to teach gender ideology to your child.
It says we have to teach LGBTQ+.
But gender ideology.
Can you? I mean, can you imagine that we? Don't imagine. Like, can you absorb that we live in a country where we've decided it's appropriate to teach other sexualities at all? to children or any sexuality. Like, I don't think children think about their mum and dad and think, oh, my parents are heterosexual. They're my parents. That's what happens when you're little. That's why divorce is so damaging for children. It's because they don't consider you as a couple. They consider you as their parents. They don't think, oh, my mum and dad are straight. They think they're my mum and dad and they're on this earth to have me and be my mum and dad.
Children can't have a gender identity because they're children.
But we don't have to teach about children, but we have to teach about LGBT plus.
Do you have to teach about female perspectives and like sex-based rights and things like that for women?
That comes into the curriculum. I'm not sure whether that is key stage 3 or not, but you know, equality.
Equality we have to teach. So one of the things we teach is about equality, but lots of like race, all the protected characteristics we have to teach. So sex is one of them.
I just think that just get rid of all this shit.
Protected characteristics we have to teach around equality and discrimination.
So when you're talking about you're going to have to teach around sex and discrimination. If protected belief is that people can't change sex, that's been found in that medical state case, then that would fall under sex-based rights as females to hold that belief. So therefore, if you're going to then punish or talk to her or correct her language or however you guys want to phrase it, then surely that's you guys discriminating against her based on sex.
There are a whole wide range of beliefs, and the guidance, statutory guidance that we referred to, talks about that we have to protect the protected characteristics, and if beliefs discriminate against protected characteristics, then we need to.
Gender identity isn't a protected characteristic.
It falls into the guidance, falls into, I can't remember the exact wording, but we've spent a lot of time looking at this, and that gender reassignment, the gender identity falls under the gender reassignment and not researching legalities around it.
That's not a belief. Gender identity. Is that not a belief system? Is that a real thing? Or is that a belief system?
From your point of view, it's not a real thing. From other people's point of view, it is.
Philosophically, is it a belief system? It's not hardwired, is it? So it's not like I'm female. And the reason I'm female is I have X chromosomes and I'm a walking female, and we can all acknowledge that. Gender identity, I could sit here thinking I'm a man. You'd have no idea. So it would be a belief system. It's not something you could. It's not. So it would be like, if I believe in souls or if I pray to Mecca. It's I would say that when you're looking at an overlap of where the belief systems come in, or where the priorities come in, I would say sex would be way higher than gender reassignment. So somebody's sex-based rights is way higher than somebody's gender identity, gender reassignment, or whatever no outsiders might ask you to call it.
That's something we can look into further if that's
Like a girl's right to be in a family because them to be in the girls' changing rooms.
So this is me asking about whether or not they have female spaces, female-only spaces in that school. Bearing in mind, some of those girls are 11 years old.
Don't where do the children
Come in their period.
Okay. So is he allowed to get what about girls' toilets?
We have individual cubicles, private.
They got sinks in them.
Sinks just outside.
Okay, so a little girl starts her period at school. Where's she washing her hands?
Let me just tell you, that's illegal. So over the age of 8 in the United Kingdom, you, according to the Health and Safety Executive, you must provide a single-sex space in which is fully enclosed. If it's single-sex means that the door is fully enclosed, private space, including a sink. Single-sex, including a sink, somewhere to dry your hands, somewhere to go to the toilet, somewhere to wash your hands. So when you have a female-only toilet and the sinks are outside of the toilet cubicle, the reason that's lawful is because you have a door closing off, so it remains a private single-sex space. So there needs to be a door in between the outside and the sink area. And if it's a single-sex toilet, the toilets can have separate cubicles, and that's kind of the provision, which is why a single toilet with somewhere to dry your hands and wash your hands is a single sex space, right? Because it's got between you and the door, between you and the outside world is a door. So anything less than that is not a private single sex or female only space.
We would be supported.
So you don't have any female only toilets in this school? When did they go?
Individual cubicles.
Why?
Because that's what we've chosen to do.
Why?
Part of the reason is that it's an open space, because actually when children go out of lessons to go to the toilet, we're finding that sometimes children are chatting in the toilets, and actually by moving that space back and making an open space.
So they've just reiterated there that they have no private space to wash their hands at all, mixed sex or otherwise.
Children to go to the toilet, use the toilet.
I just want to make, yeah, I do say it. Well done, me. I just want to say that this is a lack of discipline in schools. And so schools, I think this is what's happened in school. Children started reacting to being told no, or maybe it was chicken and egg. Maybe they weren't told no, then they started reacting to saying no, or maybe some children were so badly disciplined at home that they stopped hearing no. And so what schools did is they came up with other ways of disciplining children. And one of these things is children chatting in toilets. Well, that doesn't happen in a well-disciplined school, does it? But when the teachers have kind of lost the room, that's when you get to a point where you are having to have open toilets to make sure primary age children don't chat, as opposed to a teacher having their eye on the ball and saying, well, little Jane, she's been gone for 5 minutes for the toilet. And this week she's gone 4 times for 15 minutes or more. I think she's messing around in the toilet.
Cubicles.
Why?
Because that's what we've chosen to do.
Why?
Part of the reason is that it's an open space, because actually when children go out of lessons to go to the toilet, we're finding that sometimes children are chatting in the toilets, and actually by moving that space back and making an open space, encourages the children to go to the toilet, use the toilet, and come back to the class.
So just a lack of discipline.
How are we going to move?
I like myself sometimes. I do say the right thing.
I think it brings off to this.
Well, I just look. I'm just curious. If I sent my child here, if I sent my little girl here who started her periods at 9, and she had to kind of be a special case because you don't actually have a private space for girls who start their periods, which I don't know if you remember, ladies, but it's pretty embarrassing. And then you've got no female-only space. Where? Come on, you must know. I just find it so dishonest. You both must know how it felt as girls.
And the spaces that we have are appropriate. They have
So you prefer a gender-neutral toilet than a female toilet, like say when you're club?
my preferences.
No, we're talking about children.
When we just put the overnight in for, with that, if, for example, you had a boy you thought was a girl, would you be in season with a girl?
We would be dealing with that.
So just in case you can't hear that, because the sound quality is pretty bad, I'm so sorry about that. But one of the things you can't hear, but you can read, is that the mother asks if her daughter went away on a residential, whether or not the boy would be, who called himself a girl, would be allowed to sleep in the residence with her daughter, like in the same bedroom. And they say they deal with it on a case-by-case basis. So
This is all the stuff you guys need to be thinking when you're doing this, like safeguarding reviews of the policies and stuff. Please consider that. Please think about how you're going to balance the rights of girls compared to the beliefs of men.
We do.
That is part.
Why wouldn't you just say no? Why wouldn't that just be no?
We don't need to justify that.
No, and I
because I think that's not part of this conversation.
I'm just asking. If I'm asking you if you would put a boy in a girl's space, why would you just not say no? Would you let girls smoke in the toilet?
We're not going to.
No.
We're in a meeting. I'm moving forward to support the children.
So shameful, ladies. So
I think
shameful.
calling us shameful. is
I
not
said
the
it's shameful. I didn't say you're shameful. I said it's shameful.
Can I just say, we really value working with our parents. We really value
See, this is a school. This is like, if you zoom out, this is life in a nutshell. They can say that they'll put a little boy in a, or they won't automatically say no, which means they consider putting a boy in a bedroom with a girl on a trip, right? Case by case basis. And they would chastise children, right? This is United Kingdom 2026. But if you dare to go and tell them that they're fucking shameful for doing that, then you're wrong. You're impolite, right? You're rude. You've made them so upset they can't go to a meeting. It's the same as the rape gang inquiry. It's just the same. It's the same as those. I mean, the lawlessness of those migrant, those Hamas supporting violent terrorists is mental. But if you participate in an elite paedophile ring, and you enable a man who's running an elite paedophile ring to make money, and you give him state secrets, although let's say that nobody knew about that, but let's say that you have a reputation about a connection with an elite paedophile ring. It's not the only one in the world, people. It's just the only one we know about right now. But this elite paedophile ring, and you're a well-connected man, and you've got something to do with them, you can still get access to state secrets and a very, very well-paid job. At the same time, if you post about how you feel about migrants raping people, you can get nearly 3 years in prison. If you call a man, you can get a non-crime hate incident, which can jeopardize some future employment. Non-crime hate. At the same time, you can be connected to the world's most famous at the moment paedophile, and you can still get a job in government. It's not bad enough. It's not bad enough for anyone to go, well, anyone but him, really. We'll have the woman that cleaned my office last night rather than Peter Mandelson. Like, I have a neighbour nearby who built their house with against planning permission, against planning permission, and goodness me, against planning permission, and he has done a number of things. I know, and you know, that if I put the wrong window in, I would have to change it. Like, it's just, I think we've had enough. Law-abiding people, we've had enough. These teachers are the same as everyone else. They think they can tell your children, they can put a raging fetishist in front of your kids. They can do whatever they like. They can teach them about critical race theory. They can teach them about men pretending to be women. They can tell your child that it's possible to change sex, that girls can be boys and boys can be girls. But if you dare to go and talk to them about it, you're in the wrong.
Want to be argumentative. We don't want to be putting up barriers. We want productive meetings. So I think I've got some points that
I'm really heartbroken, really, that the red bloody crayon thing, whatever happened with that, I'm really, really upset that got into the classroom and my daughter was exposed to that prior to anything being consulted with. I'm really disappointed about that. I'm really disappointed about the fact that he is head of year 5 and he should have made me aware that he didn't know the whole curriculum when I met my parents evening. And that was several weeks into the term. It wasn't right at the beginning when he just started. So I would have assumed that by then, a competent head of year 5 would have reviewed the curriculum and would have then done what he said he would do, which is give me the heads up to let me have this as a much less formal, much more relaxed conversation, instead of just having that email from yourself that says, "Oh, we're going to do this month."
And I completely take that.
So basically, they deceived this mother. They just deceived her. Sorry about that. I had some workmen at my house, and I told them I was in a meeting, and then he came in. Bloody hell. But that's the reality of what we're living in. David Cameron, I think we know this to be true, but I'll say apparently, allegedly, put his dick in a dead penis's, put his penis in a dead pig's head. That's how these men operate. That's how they operate. They've all got something on each other. That's why they keep each other's secrets, because they've all got each other's secrets. But we're not like that. Like us normal people, we have a bit of shame. We wouldn't do something like that. Like, there will be many people who Epstein tried to entrap, who didn't go to his island, who didn't fall for it. There's been many people, many women, and this is controversial, I know, but many women didn't let Harvey Weinstein wank in front of them. They left. They might have got their whole movie career cancelled. And it's terrible that you would have to do that, but are you corruptible or not? Well, I'm not. Are you? I bet there's very few people in this chat that, even with the opportunity of great things and vast amounts of money, you wouldn't have allowed Harvey Weinstein for more than one occasion sexually harass you. Anyway, look, if you have a teacher teaching your children, like St. Lawrence in Bradford-on-Avon, I believe they have a woman who tries to force the children to call her Mux. If you have that, what are you doing about it? What have you done about it? And if you have been silent, who have you done that for? I'm telling you now, if I took my 4-year-old to school on the first day of term, their fucking teacher was in a dress, male teacher was in a dress, I wouldn't have left my children. I wouldn't have dropped them off. I don't like it. I don't trust them. I don't know if I really trust men around small children anyway. Most men find small children really boring. And I know we're not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to say, oh, all men. Well, actually, I think if men have an interest in children, I think there's something fucking wrong with them. Men aren't like that. Men like an exchange. Men don't even find their own babies fascinating until the baby starts saying, oh, you're wonderful, Dad. And I'm not saying that that's great. Oh, that's so wonderful. We should all accept that. But I prefer that to a man who's really overly interested in small children. Like, there's a reason the reason we put up with small children, ladies, is because we're programmed to do so. What do we want? We want to nurture our children. Like, we are the sex that gives birth to children. Our brains change when we're pregnant. But also, don't think that the sex that's supposed to carry and have the children isn't going to have some other evolutionary kind of imprinted behaviors. Not all of us. So anyway. Kelly MDJ, there are loads and loads of people who homeschool, and there's quite a community. Unfortunately, it's also been completely invaded by woke dickheads. So you still have to keep your wits about you, and make sure that you find the homeschooling community that's suitable for you. But if your school is allowing kids to transition, primary school in particular, secondary school, I think it's probably a little bit different, because that can be a rebellious teen, that can be a traumatized teen, but little kids, no. If your school is allowing a man to come to school dressed in a fetish, or a woman coming to school pretending that she's something other than Miss Ms. or Mrs., then you have an activist school and your children are in danger. So, Ash, look, I know that not all mothers are nurturing and some are absolutely awful, narcissistic, living vicariously through their children, virtue signaling, uncaring, nasty cows. I know that. And I'm really not trying to pretend that that isn't the case and that we don't all know it and we don't all know that mothers are the most likely to transition their kids and so on. So I do know that. And I wouldn't ever want to sound like I'm saying all mothers are wonderful because I'm really not. But anyway, I think we the people, we the taxpayers, we the workers, what we have to do is we have to use the language that makes the most sense, that isn't polite. And you have to go and challenge these teachers. And you'll notice that no one got angry. No one shouted. I think you just have to be repetitive. And you have to go and look the head teacher in the eye and you have to ask him how a child that feels uncomfortable with a man in a dress, how is it that child's responsibility to change the way they feel? To ignore their instincts. Like that is what you have to do. But look, I'm happy to go to any school and stand outside of any school, which is what I think needs to happen. I'll come into school. We'll do some outside stuff. Just let me know where you are and I'll come. Okay. If you can say the things that need to be said, because it's absolutely imperative that you do, then I promise we will win. If you can go into school, can look someone in the eye without a hesitation and tell them what you think about their policies, I promise we will win. But it is going to take you too. Do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود They said it's for heaven They said it's for love Pulled the fabric tighter Called that grace from above My scalp learned their scripture Every strand in a cage You learn to walk smaller Just to live through the day If you use your faith to make women suffer hell Maybe you invented God to force us under your spell This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame You built a prison, called it prayer, but I was born for freedom in my head For freedom in my head Yeah. Your rules in a whisper Your hands in a fist Dress codes like barbed wire On a printed list You talk about modest Like it's carved in stone scripture leaves your modesty alone. If you use your faith to make women suffer hell, maybe you invented God to force us under your spell. This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame. You built a prison, called it prayer, but I was born for freedom in my hair. For freedom in my hair. اگر با نام ایمان دوزخ را به زنان تحمیل میکنی، شاید خدا را خودت ساختایی تا ما را مطیع قدرتت کنی. آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شد، آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شد. If you use your faith to make women suffer hell, maybe you invented God to force us under your spell. This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame. You built a prison, I cut the air, watch me walk in freedom with my hair. In freedom with my hair. I'm not your shame, I'm not your fear, I'm only mine from head to heel. Now see the freedom in my